Okay, so I did a post earlier on social about my rage, and um, rage is something that I am intimately familiar with. Um, in the kind of deepest depths of my mental illness, rage and fear were just my constant companions. So it's a very familiar. It's almost it's almost comfortable. Like the rage comes in and I'm like, "Oh, hello. I know you. Welcome." But it's not really welcome because it's kind of like shitty to just, throw things and like hate the world and everything, you know, gets on your last fucking nerve. So it turns into just a bad kind of misery type situation. So now that, as I like to think of it, I exist more in my wellness than I do in my illness. I have the capacity to look, right? So when you're just completely overcome by this illness, that's what it is. You can't you don't have the a lot of the time you're not able to use the coping tools even if you have been taught the coping tools. So the first step is to get to a place where you can access those tools. I mentioned in my post that my um, really worst rage moments um, would sometimes end up in just debilitating panic attacks, um, where I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move, I I felt like I was not going to live. Um, Fortunately, I haven't had one of those in many months, and I, like I said, I currently am existing more in my wellness than in my illness, and that's a nice place to be. And so it gives you the opportunity when you kind of have these like, okay, where first it's like, okay, I'm really mad today. Like there's a notebook in my way in the kitchen and I just kind of not like, trying to break things, but just kind of like flung it out of the way. Not really the most typical and productive reaction. So you start to have that capacity to look at um, yourself, right? And to to sit and take some time to kind of feel into where this is coming from. When it becomes less than the norm, when it's no longer your simple everyday means of existing, surviving. You're certainly not thriving in this state. Um, but when you are existing in your wellness and these things crop up, you have several opportunities. And one of the things that you can do is you can take the time to to sit with the feelings and check in with your mind, check in with your body, check in with your mood. um if you're a really strong empath and someone who takes on the emotions of those around you, you might need to wonder, is this my shit or is this somebody else's shit? Because I don't know. So I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and just kind of sit and do just a little, I don't want to call it meditation, a little exploration of, you know, what the hell's going on here. So I've got my blankets I'm sitting on, and these are my highlighter shorts. God, they're so day glow. I really super like them. And I'm sitting on my blankets for comfort's sake. And so always find your happy seated posture. And I just love having my eyes closed. I do half of my yoga practice probably with my eyes closed, and just the peace of not having that visual stimuli. That's another thing. Overstimulation. We have so many things stimulating us all the time. Social media, music, kids' music, outside the news. It's just a nonstop barrage of stuff, and it can make you a little bonkers, especially if you're already a little bonkers. So back to our seat, just closing the eyes just for a minute, and we start with a body check-in. So I'm going to start from the ground up, because I feel like here is where I'm going to find some stuff. But I do notice as I'm checking in, pain levels okay, comfort levels okay, my blankets feel good, back pain doing good, moving on up, even my neck. But man, I've reached my head, and damn, there's some achiness there in my head. And then noticing my just general affect. I've got a sort of like drowsy, draggy feeling. Kind of like I could just slump, sink down. My eyes feel really good being closed. They're not about opening right now. So, what if I'm tired? What if I stayed up a little bit later than I meant to last night? Ooh. Lack of sleep can certainly manifest as anger. Let's check in a little bit more. Let's look at this area right here. Your heart, your abdomen. So much information can be taken from these places. So many of our emotions are, you feel everything right here. Emotions don't exist in your head. Emotions are visceral. They are real life, actual feelings in your body. They're not some ethereal, ephemeral feelings. You feel them. So check in here. And I'm going to say, I feel wishy-washy. I feel some anxiety and that like sense of just being annoyed, like it's still here. So, but there's also that wishy-washiness, maybe anxiousness, maybe nerves, maybe stress. Maybe it's stressful. So, what do we do now? We've looked at this stuff. We found some things. What do we do? We give, right? We give to it because those are the tools that we have. The first thing that we give is breath. So we take long, deep breaths into those places where we feel the things. We soothe with our breath. If you practice Ujjayi breathing, that would be a wonderful gift to give. Feel it all land right in your heart. Another Ujjayi. So soft. We're going to do a third Ujjayi. We're going to give it some extra love. We're going to send some extra grace and some extra kindness right into here, into these places where these feelings are so strong. So we inhale, inhaling love, softness, gentleness for ourselves, compassion. Just one more before we close out. So maybe open your eyes. Compassion is one of the greatest strengths that we as humans possess. And the ability to feel things that other people feel, right? And to feel pain and sympathize and empathize. It's one of the strongest and the hardest things that we as humans have the capacity for. There's a quote, and I'm horrible at giving exact quotes, but Pema Chodron, who is a beautiful and brilliant Zen Buddhist monk and teacher, has a really lovely quote that is essentially, to paraphrase, it's simply that we can't hope to have compassion for others until we can show it to ourselves. So I invite you to offer yourself some compassion today and be willing to sit with your shit and explore it, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of what you feel, and to um, give it some love today. Okay. Here's hoping my anger decreases.